I now call upon David Zaslav to deliver the 150th commencement address of Boston University.
Wow. I couldn't be more excited to be here with all of you. It's an incredible day. Dr. Brown, Dr. Fakahani, thank you so much for those kind words. Thanks also to the trustees of the university and to my fellow recipients. It's an honor to share this great day with all of you. It's hard to believe that almost 40 years have passed since I began my journey right here at Boston University School of Law. I have so many potent, wonderful memories. Hours studying at the law library, eating my way through Faneuil Hall with friends, and many mornings waiting for the tea, just like you guys did in the freezing cold. Last night, I got on the T just to go down memory lane. We passed Kenmore Square. We went down through BU Beach, where we used to hang out on a beautiful day like today. And then we passed good old Fenway Park. And when I was in school here 40 years ago, after we studied, after the 7th inning, you could sneak into Fenway and watch the last few innings of the Sox game. When I was announced as the speaker a few weeks ago, one of my BU buddies sent me a text. It said, "Who would have thought?" And he was right. Who would have thought that one day I'd be up here giving you life advice? I have to admit, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time giving a commencement address. But I spent a lot of time thinking about what was I going to say to you. I asked myself, what have I seen and learned over the years that might be really helpful to you as you begin your journey? So, here are the 5 most important things I learned on my journey along the way. The first is, you've got to figure out what you're good at and what you love doing. I graduated from law school right here at BU, and I got what I thought was everything I wanted. I got a job at a big, prestigious firm in New York, an apartment in New York, and I was making good money. I was feeling really great. And my parents were proud of me. But then I started to do the work. And it was really tough. It was hard for me. I was working in the corporate department, and I was writing prospectuses. I wrote prospectuses for insurance companies and toy companies, all companies that were going public. The work took a lot of patience, and it took a lot of organization, and it took a lot of writing. I just found it really difficult. Then one day, I was in the lunchroom with a group of my fellow associates when one of the partners came in, brimming with excitement. He said, "Guess what? The corporate rules for prospectuses have changed. The rule that governs prospectuses was amended, and you could now write the prospectuses however you want." I looked around the table, and I saw all these talented people. People I really liked. And they were super excited. The partner walked away, and they all began talking about how much fun this was going to be. And what an amazing impact this was going to have, because they could change the way they write the prospectuses. And I remember thinking to myself, I really couldn't care less. It was the moment that I realized, I don't love this. I don't love writing prospectuses. I was competing with really smart, talented, hardworking people who really loved what they were doing. And I don't. I don't love it, and I wasn't sure that I really liked it. And I knew then that I had to make a change. I had to find something that really interested me, something that I really loved. But that was really scary. I had a lot of anxiety because I was stuck. I had an apartment, and I had to keep the job until I found something else. So I kept my head up, and I worked hard for another year. About a year later, I got lucky. And that happens in life. A guy walked by my office, a new partner at the firm, and I noticed he wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing an MTV jacket, and he had long hair. So I followed him to his office, I introduced myself, and I got to know him. He told me he was doing work for a new cable TV business, for MTV, for CNN, for Discovery, and for Nickelodeon. And I thought to myself, I have to figure out how to get to know him, because maybe I'll like doing this kind of work. Even though I was already working 70 or 80 hours, I said to him, I'd love to work with you. Anytime you have any work, I'm here and I'd love to do it. And that's how I found this new business, cable television. It was the late 80s, and cable TV was just getting started, and I quickly fell in love. The second thing I learned along my journey is that you got to make your own opportunities. They're not going to come knocking on your door. A couple of years later, I was enjoying the work I was doing in the cable division of the law firm, and I was sitting in my office, and one day I was reading an article, and on the cover of the article in Hollywood Reporter was Jack Welch. He was the CEO of GE, and GE had just bought NBC. He bought NBC, and he had said he wanted to get into the cable business, and he was going to start a brand new division. I was young at the time, not much older than most of you, but I had a year or two of cable experience, and I thought to myself, I've been doing deals for cable companies for the last year or two, and I know a lot about it. So I sat down and I wrote Jack Welch a handwritten note. And the note said, here's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. If you're serious about getting into the cable business, I'd love to go along for the journey. I was surprised that a week later the phone rang. I went into NBC, and they hired me as one of the first few people to start the cable division. That handwritten note changed my life. The power of the written word. The power of taking a chance and asking for an opportunity. I ended up working with Jack for 15 years. We launched CNBC, MSNBC, Bravo, USA, Sci-Fi. It was a fantastic journey. Take a chance and ask for an opportunity. The third thing I learned along my journey is that it's just as important to figure out what you're not good at as it is to figure out what you're good at. The fact is, all of us have strengths and weaknesses. But in the end, it's the weaknesses that will hold you back. It's the weaknesses that will kill you. I'll never forget one morning, I was called into Jack Welch's office. I had a lot of energy at that time, and I was passionate. And I was in there because I had gotten in a dispute with a difficult guy that ran another division at NBC. Jack mediated the dispute in my favor, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Then he said to me, "Stay back a minute, David. I want to talk to you." And he turned to me and he said, "Listen, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to figure out how to get along with everyone. And that includes difficult people. Some people will be looking for a fight. But don't be the one they find it with. Focus on people's good qualities." Jack was right. In my career, I've seen so many talented people lose opportunities or jobs because they couldn't get along with others. You can't choose the people that you work with. Figure out what you like about a person. There's always something. And do what it takes to navigate their challenges. We all have them. The reality is, most of us don't pay enough attention to our weaknesses because it doesn't feel good to think about our shortcomings, especially when we all believe that we mostly have it going on. Most of you have done great in school, great in whatever you've chosen to do. But if you really want to realize your full potential, you cannot focus solely on what you're good at. That's the easy stuff. You've got to put more effort toward the things you're not good at and work at getting better at them. It'll make a huge difference. The fourth thing I learned along my journey is that it's really painful to get outworked. When I was 12 years old, I was a very good competitive tennis player. One day I went to a tournament, and Althea Gibson, who was a Wimbledon champion and in the Hall of Fame, watched me play. My family didn't have a lot of money back then, but Althea approached my dad and afterwards asked if she could coach me. She said I had real talent in tennis, and soon tennis became my thing. It was what I was really good at. I wore my tennis clothes to school. It was how people saw me, and it felt good. But then I started to get too comfortable, and I stopped doing the work. My mom and dad would drive me around to the different tournaments, and I would show up and find that the person I was competing against had already been there practicing for 2 hours. And after we played, he would stick around and hit backhands for another 2 hours. By the time I was 14 years old, I was getting beat by most of the people I was used to beating. Eventually, Althea sat down with me and had a very tough but short conversation. She told me, "You don't work hard enough." At that point, it was too late for me. I had already seen all of these players that I had grown up with blow right by me. It was a painful experience. It's painful to be outworked. I lost a little piece of my identity, but I vowed that day I will never be outworked again. Talent is important. You all have a lot of talent, but it's just your entry ticket. It's not going to get you to the promised land. To be successful at anything, you've got to do the work. You've got to commit yourself to really work hard. And finally, the fifth thing I learned along my journey is that there are a lot of big moments that will define your life. And you've got to look out for them. You've got to be ready. On the professional side, it could be a job interview or an audition, a presentation to get funding for a startup, or a chance to spend time with a giant in your field. These moments can define how people see and remember you. And you need to be prepared for them. And show up. Life is about human connection. The pandemic has forced all of us to spend a lot more time apart and on Zoom. You all spent a large portion of your time here at BU having to work remotely and taking classes online. I really believe it's critical now that we get back to working together, in person, making real human connections. It's different when you're in a room with someone. Something magic happens. Most of the good things and good opportunities in my life have come from people. People I worked side by side with every day. People I spent hours with in a conference room fixing problems. When I first got to NBC, I met a brilliant media entrepreneur named John Malone. He owned the largest cable TV business in America. And over the next 15 years, I had the opportunity to work side by side, in person, with him in the trenches on many deals. I made the most of it. I learned an enormous amount from him. And later, I went to work for him at Discovery, and he's now on the board of Warner Brothers Discovery with me, and I'm still learning from him. Trust me, those relationships, friendships, mentorships will enrich and propel you. There are also going to be a lot of big moments in your personal life. And not all of them are going to be so obvious or easy to see. You have to keep your eyes open and you have to keep your heart open so that you could spot them. Show up at a funeral for a friend's dad. Show up at your kids' games. And if you can, be a coach. Show up even when you're swamped to be there or do something kind or unexpected for someone you love. You may not realize until much later how important some of these moments are. But I promise you, they will matter more to you than anything else. Because that is the real stuff. That's the real stuff. So graduates, you're just getting started today. Here's my advice to you. Figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at, and work on those things. Create your own opportunities. And even if you have to make a big change, find a way to do what you really love. Never, never, never get outworked. Prioritize the big moments in your life. And most important, show up. Show up for your friends, show up for your family, and show up for yourself. Make your journey as fulfilling as it can possibly be. My dad used to say to me all the time, be respectful of other people, and everything is possible. Be respectful of other people, and everything is possible. And he was right. Respect and kindness is something that will change the way people see you. It's important. It's an important lesson for all of you. It's an important lesson for me. I think it's been the thing that's been the thing that has probably had the biggest impact on my success is the respect and kindness of other people. So as you embark, remember, this is your journey. Make the most of it. This is your time. Thank you so much for bringing me back here to BU. I had the most wonderful 3 years here. It brings me great joy to be here. I have my wife is here. This is a wonderful moment for me and my family. I have only great memories of my times at BU, and I have wonderful friends that I've taken along with me for my journey. So I thank you so much. I have to get back to my journey now, because I'm still going. More to do, more to see, and more to learn. And I hope to see all of you, and I mean all of you. I hope to see all of you along the way. The journey of life, there's nothing better. Congratulations to the class of 2023. I'm proud of you. It's a wonderful university. Thank you all so much.